Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel for the video that I promised to make on block scheduling. I learned about block scheduling from a video that was a suggested video that came up in the sidebar on YouTube, and it is by Jordan from Fun, Cheap or Free. I will link her video down below, so please do go and check out her video and see what she has to say about it and her thoughts behind the concept. But basically the idea is that you break up your time into blocks, but big blocks, rather than from 8 to 8:30 I do this, and from 9 to 10 I do that. They're bigger blocks and they're more flexible, and I'll explain it in a minute. But the thinking behind it is that when you're at school, you go to history class and you just do history. You're not sitting working on your English essay, you're not doing maths homework, you're just doing history. And then the bell rings and you pack up your things and you move on to the next block and you just focus on that. So the concept is to break up your day or the free time that you have at home into blocks and then slot things into those blocks. This can work for people who work full-time. Obviously you're going to have a lot less time at home, but it still works to block out the time that you have at home and be more intentional about how you spend that time. So that's what I have found especially helpful, because if you don't know, I work from home. We have an Airbnb guest house, I have my YouTube channel, and we have an online store that we run. So I've got a lot of bits and pieces of work things to do at home, but then being at home, there's also obviously the usual errands and chores and things to do around the home as well. And I was getting a lot done. I am quite a productive person, but it wasn't in the most efficient way because I'd get distracted. I was getting very distracted. I'd be working on something and then an email would pop up and then I'd go and answer that, and then I'd get distracted by a link, or I'd be busy working and then I'd nip to the loo and then I'd see there's laundry to be put on, and then I would go and put washing on, and then I'd be folding laundry and then I'd get distracted by something else, and I wasn't using my time as best I could. So this video was an absolute godsend when it came along, and when I watched it I was like, this is the answer. Because I've tried different ways of scheduling my time before. I've tried having a very strict schedule. From 8 to 9 I do these particular things, from 9 to 9:30, 9 to 10 I do these things, kind of breaking up, like breakfast happens from 7:30 to 8 or whatever, and it wasn't flexible enough because obviously day to day you deal with different things. Some days I may need to film, some days I may have more errands to run, some days I may need to clean the guest house, sometimes I've got a guest staying for a while and I don't need to do a clean that day. And having a very strict schedule was it just didn't work for me. It wasn't flexible enough. And then I also tried doing different days. So on Monday I would just be at home and I'd do cleaning and I'd do kind of householdy things. Tuesday I would do filming or I would do errands. That was my errands day, and that kind of didn't really work either because you can't always make an appointment on a Tuesday. Or if I was at home all day on the Monday, I would do some cleaning, but then I'd be piddling around and I'd be watching YouTube, and that was too flexible. That didn't really work for me either. Well, it was too flexible in some ways and not flexible enough in others. But the block scheduling is amazing. It has changed my life and I highly recommend it. It is so good because it is specific enough to keep me focused and efficient, way more efficient than I was, but it's also flexible enough that it can work with the different things that come up during my day. So here is my block schedule, but I'm going to put it up on the screen over here as I talk about my different blocks. So my first block starts from whatever time I wake up in the morning until 10 a.m. and I have kept it that flexible. I don't have an alarm to wake up with because I don't always sleep the best, and sometimes I'll have a rough night. I'll be awake in the night a lot and I'll finally get to sleep at like 5 in the morning. I don't want to be woken up by an alarm at 7. I want to just sleep as long as my body needs to sleep. So I may wake up anyway from 6 a.m. to maybe 8:30 a.m. So whatever time I wake up, then I go into my first block, which is personal. During my personal block, I will make my bed, I will brush my teeth, I will put on my workout clothes and do a workout, I will have breakfast, I will put on a load of washing, I can go on Facebook. I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, so that's not a temptation to get sucked in or anything. I'll have a quick squiz what's happening in my groups. Are there any messages I need to reply to? I can reply to personal emails. I can Skype with my mom. That can take an hour sometimes or more, but that fits into my personal block. That's also the time that I would do things like think about dinner, take something out of the freezer. I can do my online grocery shop because it usually only takes about 20 minutes. I can do a little bit of cleaning or housework, whatever needs doing in that regard, put away laundry, whatever I need to do that's personal fits into there. But obviously the most important things are get up, make my bed, get dressed, do a workout, have breakfast. Those are the basics. If I'm up early and have time, I can go out and do some gardening. That's the other thing that was taking up a lot of time. Sometimes I would go out into the garden and spend like 6 hours gardening and then come in and it was like I'd been out all day. Well, because I had been out all day, and then nothing's getting done at home because I can get really sucked in and distracted. So in my personal block, I fit in personal things, and then I have an alarm that goes off at 9:45. It has just like a gentle chime reminding me, finish up because you need to move on to your next block now. At 10 o'clock, I have a different alarm that goes off saying, right, your next block is starting. So from 10 to 1 is my next block, and that block is for work. During this time, I will film, edit, upload, I will respond to comments, I will respond to work emails, I will clean the guest house, I will work on Rebalance, which is our online store. I will pick and pack orders, I will look for new lines that we want to include, I'll order stock, I'll sort out stock that has arrived, I'll order new packaging materials, I'll make phone calls, I'll respond to emails for the store. All of that fits into my work block, and during my work block I don't check Facebook, I don't check emails or like personal emails, I don't do anything else except for work. I'm head down and I'm focused and I'm so much more efficient. I have the same warning alarm that goes off a 1:45, but at 1 o'clock my next block begins, and from 1 to 2 I take a lunch hour and I put aside work and I put aside housework and anything like that, and I just chill out. So from 1 to 2 I will have my lunch, and I usually sit and watch Neighbours every day while I have my lunch. I can catch up on YouTube videos, I can read a book, I can go and sit in the garden, I can do anything personal during that time. Sometimes I do work over because our courier comes about 1:30, and sometimes there will be orders that I'm still packing to get them ready before the courier arrives, but it's a conscious choice. I say to myself, I'm working into my lunch hour. You would do that at a normal job sometimes anyway, but it prevents that bleed. Before, I would get up in the morning, I would maybe check my emails, I would start responding to work emails, and I would start kind of just getting sucked into worky things before I'd even had breakfast or done anything to really start my day properly. And then I'd look up and I'd be like, oh, I should be doing this, and I'd go and put laundry on or whatever, and everything used to bleed across the day and there was no defined times. So yes, sometimes I do work into my lunch hour, but it's a conscious choice, and then I can choose to take my lunch hour from 1:30 to 2:30, or to sacrifice half of my lunch hour if I've got a lot of work on. It also actually makes me sit down and have lunch, because sometimes I can get so busy, or like I said, if I'm out in the garden, I'll just be doing one more thing, and then before you know it, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm hangry as, and I haven't eaten anything, and that's just no good for anybody. It's not good for me, and it's not good for the people around me when I get hangry. So having a proper lunch hour makes me actually sit down and have lunch and relax and take my mind off work and have a break. From 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock is my next block, and this is also work and or being out of the house. So if I have any appointments, I'll schedule them between 2 and 5, and this will usually coincide when Noah comes out of school. He comes out at 3:10, so if I'm in town, I can pick him up at the same time. So being out of the house, that is when I would schedule visits with friends or any errands, any appointments, grocery pickup, anything like that. I can also be out of the house in terms of being out in the greenhouse or in the garden and spend time out there. If I'm not out, then I'll be at home working. And some days I will work solidly through both of my 3-hour work blocks, and I'll work 6 hours, and some days I'll finish a bit early and I'll decide to take the afternoon off. The thing about working for yourself is there's always more work. You can always find more work to do, but having boundaries where I'm like, I'm starting work at this time, I'm stopping work at this time, just contains that and stops, like I said, the bleed across the whole day. There would be times where I would be piddling around on the computer or doing some editing or whatever, and then look up and be like, you know, Grant's got home from work, I haven't even started dinner, I haven't even like disengaged my brain from work to do home stuff. And obviously there'd be some days where I just wouldn't do any work at all, and I would just be doing personal stuff and then have to play catch up later. So this has really worked well to contain it and to also be flexible at the same time. So when I talk about flexibility, if I have a haircut, if I have a lot of work on, I can either schedule that haircut during my personal time before 10 o'clock or during my lunch hour, and then save my work blocks for work. If I don't have as much work on, then I can schedule my appointment for between 2 and 5 when I would be out of the house and be running errands. So it's flexible like that, in that you can take any task that you have and decide which block it slots into. But moving on to my next block. So from 5 till 8 is personal time again. This is when I shut down my computer, I stop looking at social media, and I engage with my family, and I cook dinner, and I'll clean up, and I will think about meal planning or grocery shopping. I could do my grocery shop then instead of in the morning. Any kind of cleaning, if I want to do any baking, anything like that, spending time with my family, and that is between 5 and 8. Then the next block starts at 8, and it is simply my bedtime block. So Jordan talks about her evening block, and she plans out kind of the evening routine. She has 6 children and a husband, so she plans out her whole evening routine and spending time with her husband and this, that, and the other thing, and she even blocks in sleep. But for me, I just keep it flexible enough that from 8, okay, it's time to start thinking about bed, because I don't just go, okay, it's bedtime, get up and go to bed. It seems that everybody comes out of the woodwork in the evening after 8 p.m. and then they want to ask me questions, or they want to talk about this or that, and it is like running the gauntlet to get to bed. I just want to be left alone and go to bed, but that doesn't seem to happen. It's also a time when I'm going to have a shower, and there's always odds and ends that happen in the evening before I can get to bed. I'll have a snack or whatever. So from 8 o'clock I'm doing all of that with the aim of being in bed and reading by maybe 9:30, and then asleep hopefully by 10. I've been really bad with getting to sleep lately. I've been going to sleep way too late, and it's not great, especially if I then sleep late the next morning and miss most of my personal block. So I need to get better about that. The reason this whole block scheduling system works so well for me, like I said, is because of the flexibility. Because the things that you need to do day to day change, but you can categorize the things. So if there's a particular video I want to film, or if there's a long-term video, like I've got a video series that I've got planned, and I've had it planned for months, and I've been working on it, and it is a lot of work in the back end, and I could just sit and work on that forever. But I can slot that into my work blocks and just work on it in chunks, so that it doesn't take up a whole day and start bleeding into my personal life, but it also gets done. It doesn't just get put aside. I have 4 to-do lists. I have a to-do list for the garden. I have one for personal things that are urgent or that need to be done in the next week or so. I have one for personal things that are not urgent, projects I want to work on, things that I forget to do, things like working on my annual photo book, or just longer term things that aren't urgent but I still want to get done. And then I have another to-do list for work, so I'll put on there videos that I want to film, or things that I need to do for rebalance, things like that. So when I'm in a block, let's say it's my work block, and I wanted to film 3 videos and edit them and upload them, and I've done that, and I've picked and packed the orders, and I've ordered in new stock, and then I think, oh, I still have like 2 hours of work time left for this work block. I can either take that time off, or I can look on my to-do list and see, what else did I want to slot in here? Could I work on that long-term YouTube video series project that I have? Or could I research more products to carry in our store, or whatever? I can consult my lists and see what else can I pop into this block. This also helps to make the best use of my personal time. So I might have lunch, watch Neighbours, and then have 40 minutes left of my lunch hour, and I could spend 10 minutes piddling around on social media, but then I can look on my personal to-do list and think, what did I actually want to tackle? What can I work on for the next 30 minutes until I go back to work? It's also helped me to enjoy my leisure time more. So instead of just bolting down my lunch and thinking, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, when it's time to relax, it's time to relax. And I know that work has its own time, and I know that chores have their own time. So when it's my time, it's just my time, and I can really enjoy it. I also actually made a block schedule for my boys for the summer holidays, because I saw the 6-week summer holidays coming up, and I just thought, everything's going to descend into chaos, and we need a bit of a schedule, we need a bit of structure. I don't want the boys on screens all day long, and if I'm busy working, I can't be policing them. and I need uninterrupted time sometimes to work, and we also want to enjoy our time together. So I made a block schedule for them which loosely follows mine. So the time blocks are the same as mine, but they'll be doing different things during their blocks. Their schedule has been particularly useful for me to be able to tell them when they can and can't go on screens. So for that first block up till 10 o'clock, which is personal, they need to make their beds, they need to get dressed, they need to have a shower, they need to do things to get ready for the day before they go on any screens. The first block of the morning from 10 to 1, which is my main work block because I work best in the morning, that's when I'm freshest, I have most energy and focus, they have a productive block. They're not allowed on screens at all, and they need to do chores, they need to do jobs that we need help with, for example digging in the garden or whatever we've set out for them to do. And Daniel can work on designs for his portfolio, Noah can go and mow his clients' lawns, he's got a lawn mowing business. They can do anything that's productive and not on screens. Lunch hour, like I said, I watch Neighbours during my lunch hour usually, but when they're home we can sit and watch something together, we can eat lunch together, and that's really nice to connect during the middle of the day and everybody remembers to eat and nobody gets hungry and hangry. And then in the afternoon they can have personal time, so they don't have to worry that they're going to be interrupted and asked to do any jobs or chores. They can just relax during that afternoon block, or we can go out and do something, and then evening it's time to focus again and do what they need to do, or first things first, as we always say, do the chores, put away your laundry, all those kind of things in the evening, help me with dinner, whatever. And then once things are done and they have been helpful and they've done what they need to do, then they can go on screens for a bit as well. And then when we're actually doing the blocks properly, at 8 o'clock everybody turns off their devices, turns off computers, phones, and comes off screens and makes their way to bed and then starts reading again. Because I noticed that my boys, while they used to enjoy reading, they had both kind of stopped reading because they were just going on their phones and watching movies and doing things like that. So like I said, when we're doing the block scheduling properly, then that works really well for everybody to unplug in the evening. I say when we're doing it because things have been a bit loosey-goosey lately. Grant was on leave for a while and the block schedules kind of fell by the wayside. I was still loosely following mine, but everyone had turned off their alarms, including me, to move on to the next block, and we weren't following it strictly. Grant's back at work now and it's back on the block schedule for us because when we do it, it really works. So that is my take and my experience on the block scheduling system. Do go and check out Jordan's video down below. She explains the whole thing in depth and explains her schedule and how her schedule works with 6 children and running a business, and she's got a blog and all sorts of things. And she also has like an example block schedule for somebody who works full-time out of the home, how it might look for them. So definitely go and check out her video. I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope you'll give block scheduling a try because I think it can work for pretty much anyone. And it's been really good in my experience, so I would recommend it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.